I went into nursing thinking I was going to be the next Florence Nightingale and save the world. And I was very thwarted when it triggered me in the respect of a doctor giving a script and saying, send this patient home. And I looked at the script and I'm like, but you're masking the symptoms. And it made me stop and pause and say, where else in my life am I masking those symptoms and not getting to the root causes of things? And I
Mm.
was going through all sorts of challenges at the time.
Buckle up for a new episode of the Be S.H.E podcast, the show where we have real and raw conversations to inspire and empower you to be seen and heard so you can create balance and everything you want in your life and business. I'm your host, Heidi Schock, and I'm excited to walk alongside of you on this journey of being seen, heard, and empowered. Welcome to the Be S.H.E podcast. Be seen, be heard, be empowered. And we're going to have a fun conversation today because there are two Floridians in the house. I have a fellow Floridian, which I'm always excited to be talking to a fellow Floridian because I don't get to meet a lot of Floridians inside of the entrepreneurship space. Most of them are in California, in New York. A lot of them are coming to Miami. But my guest today is not in Miami. She's on the other side of the coast from me, directly across the way. So without further ado, welcome Karen Rudolf with Tranquil SOULutions to the podcast. So happy to have you, Karen.
Oh, happy to be here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So we've had some conversation behind the scenes. Yeah, that's where we learned that we're both in Florida, which is super super exciting. Karen, before we kick it off and we get to dive into all about you and your journey, I'm just going to give everybody a little bit of background about you.
That's-
So, Karen Rudolph is a spiritual breakthrough coach, speaker, and the founder of Tranquil SOULutions. She specializes in helping women and conscious leaders overcome emotional and subconscious blocks, reclaim their voice, and lead with clarity, confidence, and soul alignment. A former nurse turned transformational coach, Karen's journey began after facing personal loss and burnout and realizing that true healing starts within. She now blends neuroscience, intuitive insight, quantum principles, and holistic wellness in her proprietary clarity tool to guide clients through deep self discovery and breakthrough. Her mission is to help women remember their power, shift their inner narratives, and create aligned lives of purpose, peace, and impact. And that's why I'm so excited to have you on here because this podcast is all about empowerment, remembering their power, being seen, being heard, and creating anything and everything that women want to create in their lives. So, Karen, can you walk us through? You kind of already answered my first question that I always ask, which is how you help women now, what you're doing now with your purpose and your mission. Is this something that a journey you moved through yourself, or something that you just were passionate about and wanted to learn more about it, dive deeper, and now help women through that? But it sounds like this has been part of your personal journey. So can you share with us a little bit
Yeah,
about that?
yeah, absolutely part of my journey because I'm able to speak from the heart because I've been there.
Mm.
I've been in burnout. I've been through divorce. I've been through not knowing who I was. I've been in the belief systems that I was stupid or not worthy and all. So I've worked through so much of that. I mean, I went into nursing thinking I was going to be the next Florence Nightingale and save the world. And I was very thwarted when it triggered me in the respect of a doctor giving a script and saying, send this patient home. And I looked at the script and I'm like, but you're masking the symptoms. And it made me stop and pause and say, where else in my life am I masking those symptoms and not getting to the root causes of things? And I
Mm.
was going through all sorts of challenges at the time and I didn't know how to deal with it. And I became very overwhelmed. And fast forward, got into a relationship, had three children, and it wasn't getting any easier. I was still spinning because I didn't know what was going on within me. And I was so busy looking for external responses and things outside of myself that I thought were going to really heal me, so to speak, and heal my journeying.
Mm. So it said in your bio that you have gone through burnout. And I know I hit a wall when I moved through divorce too. And I started a business because I wanted to be home with my kids. I got very clear on my why very quickly. Prior to my divorce, I was a stay-at-home mom. So they always had me around all the time. And now I was like, okay, what am I going to do? I can't always be around, but that was my goal. So I worked two jobs as I was building it and was able to finally move into that online, that being home goal that I had. But I did have to pause and step back and just focus on working versus building a business because I hit a wall and I hit it hard and it came out of nowhere. So for those women, as women, we juggle a lot of hats. We try and make sure that we've got all balls in the air at all times. We don't want to drop one. If one drops, we can kind of feel like a failure, and we can quickly hit burnout. But the one thing that happened with me, and I'm not sure if this happens with a lot of your clients or if it's different for each person, is it came out of nowhere. I didn't realize it was coming. Now I can kind of see it ahead of time, so I can kind of pump the brakes or turn on that awareness of, hey, you need to take a break, you need to practice some self-care, you need to do the things that for Heidi is going to work, and it doesn't mean that works for everybody. But can you walk us through your journey of burnout? Did it happen similarly where it just came out of nowhere, or was it something that you were just like, I'm going to push through and get through this, and you hit that wall?
Well, basically for me, it was always that mindset. I am woman. I am
Yeah.
she woman. I'm going to push through it, push through it, push through it. And I have three daughters.
Mm,
And in school, they don't teach you communication skills. They
right.
teach us nouns and verbs and adjectives and all that other good stuff, but they don't really teach us communication. So it started when I was going through my divorce because I was a wallflower. I was victim. I was playing
Um,
the victim, and I didn't even realize I was doing that. But what we think about, we bring about, and coming from a holistic vantage point, everything you talk and comes out of your mouth is affecting you on a cellular level. What you think about, you bring about, and it reflects in your body. So, coming from a nursing perspective, my hair started falling out to the point,
wow.
my hair is really thick. I mean, you can't see it all, it's in the back, but it's really thick. I've got a mean. And my hairdresser was saying to me, Karen, this is getting really concerning because it was literally handfuls of hair coming
That's
out.
scary.
So
Yeah.
my adrenals, when I was burning out, and I didn't realize I was burning out, my adrenals were starting to shut down because
Wow.
stress is the number one killer. And I was stressing. I didn't know what was next. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was fortunate enough to be a stay-at-home mom, and I had given up nursing. So it was like, the sky is falling. And I remember complaining to my bitching, actually, to be straight. I was bitching to my paralegal, and he just very gently said to me, and it was the best thing anybody could have ever done for me. He says to me, Karen, I can listen to you all day. Cha-ching, it's costing. And he says, your case is going to go to the courts. Your former wants to take your children away from you. And all of a sudden it was like Mama Bear came out in me. And that was probably the one of the catalysts that really started me back on my heels to say, whoa, wait a minute, time out over my dead body. What can I do to make a difference? And then I realized I'm my children's first mentor, not their best, but their first. And what am I teaching them, let alone how am I mentoring that for them? And it was reality check. And I said, okay. And I delved into communication courses and I started doing a lot of personal growth and development. I was doing 6 hours of carpooling. So I was burning out in the car.
Yeah.
I started saying, what can I do with this time? And I started getting, I was books on tape, well, tapes back then. I'm aging myself, but I was doing a lot of audio and a lot of personal growth and self-reflection. And that was what really, I believe, was my number one catalyst to get me where I am today. Because when I started looking, even today to this point, my clients, when they come in, I do a lot of mind mapping. And
Mm,
mind mapping creates whole brain thinking. So by birth, by right, we're more one than the other. It's not that we can't be both, but it's a trained skill. We're right. So for me, I'm a creative, I'm a right brain thinker. A lot of people are just linear thinkings, but when you map, you're putting together neuroscience, which is whole brain thinking. And I started looking into that, and as I was mapping, it was like, what are my strengths? I don't look at weaknesses. So I map all what my clients are telling me. So I get to see those connections that they don't readily see because they're in it. And when you're in it, you don't see it for yourself. I can tell you what to do or how to do it till the cows come home, but you're not going to see it until you see it. And the experiences that I've had, I am not telling people what to do or how to do it. I'm teaching them to fish. So
Mm,
this way they empower themselves. And that's why I love your she context, because human beings, just survival in and of itself, we want to, as all human beings, not just women, we want to be seen, heard, and loved, right?
mm,
So those are your core principles. And in order to create and maintain those core principles, you've got to, not got to, you choose, it's a choice,
mm.
learn to step into your self-empowerment and be an advocate for yourself. And how do you do that? Shakespeare talked about it in 1533 in the play Hamlet. To thine own self be true. The more you get to know you, you mentioned earlier, Heidi, yourself, you knew your why. You almost had to find out your why integrally.
Mm.
I found out my why early on when that doctor said to me, put that script back. And my mother, who was a hypochondriac and calling me consistently, didn't call for a day and a half. And I'm like, what's wrong with this picture? And I called her up and she was slurring her words. I went, dropped everything. She was on the floor in a fetal position with 19 medications on her bedstand.
Wow.
And she had gotten into artwork at an early age, or a late age, rather, 72, early. And, she had no one to show her artwork to. So she would call the doctor and say, I have a migraine. Come on in, we'll treat it. Oh, we love your painting. And she would go home, do something else, and then call them back 2 weeks later. The medication you gave me is making me nauseous. And I happen to have a new art piece. Oh. And it went on. 3 doctors, no communication. So again, it gets back to communication.
Yeah.
So whether it's business, relationship, health, wealth, all of that are things that I've learned to for myself. So now I can empower others to empower themselves in those areas.
Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing all of that. And there's so much there to unpack, and I appreciate you sharing your burnout journey. And the reason I brought up the burnout is for you listening, it's something that can creep up on you, and it's also something that as women we know it's coming. It's like two sides of the coin, and for everybody it's different. For me, it hit me. Now I know it's coming because I know the signs, but I had to go through that first phase to do it. Some of us already know it's coming, and like Karen did, we're like, we got this because we carry the weight of the world on our shoulders. And as women, we're juggling, as I said, a lot of hats, and we feel like we need to take care of everybody else before we take care of ourselves. And I know it sounds cliche, but that oxygen mask matters because you can't take care of anyone else if you're not taking care of yourself first. And the way I had to flip the script for me with that was going, I've got 2 little ones that rely on me. And if I can't be here to take care of them and I'm not healthy enough to take care of them by putting the oxygen mask on me first, they're in trouble. Right. And so I hope, make it. I share that with you because I want you to flip the script to give yourself on whatever you have to tell yourself, to give yourself permission to make sure you're prioritizing yourself and doing the things. And for Karen, it was this gentleman who's like, hey, I'll listen, but it's going to keep costing you. And you want to continue down this road, right? And if we want something different, we have to do something different. You mentioned earlier, Karen, worthiness. So can you talk into whether it was when you started your business or whether it was when you were moving through the divorce and making this transition? We go through many different transitions in our lives, but what were some of the limiting beliefs that you that you had, and how were you able to move through them, and did you move past them, or do they keep creeping up? Is there something that keeps recycling that you're always learning and growing on this journey?
Well, I believe everybody is always learning and growing on the
Mm,
journey. That has been where I've gotten. But again, a majority of our belief systems are created by something that happened in early, or whether it be pre-birth or from birth to age 6. So for myself, I grew up with a mother who had no self-worth, no self-esteem. So she's my first teacher, my first mentor,
yeah.
right? So I didn't know what I didn't know. And my dad would say, "Oh, go shut up. And you ask too many questions, go out and play." Well, subliminally, right? We as parents, we say things to our children without realizing the impact it's going to have. So that was the first impact. I'm not worthy enough of being heard, right?
Right.
And so then, as a result of that, there's always a cause and effect. As a result of that, we start looking for proof as human beings. Our ego is there to protect us. So we start looking for evidence that this must be true. And then fast forward, I get into first grade or whatever it was, and I had tiles back then, and I didn't have enough tiles. So I raised my hand very innocently, and I was very studious, very innocent. And I had really thick glasses back then, and I was sitting in the front of the room, and raised my hand, and I said to the teacher, "I don't have enough tiles." And she busted out laughing. And I was looking, and the whole class is laughing. And I'm like, I just wanted to crawl underneath the desk
Yeah.
because I thought there was something wrong with me. And here I am already not feeling worthy enough. And now they're laughing. And I'll never forget it. She comes to my left side, she squats down, she puts her right hand on my left shoulder, and she points to the back of the room. I turn my little body to look in the back of the room, and it says April Fool's Day. I had no relatedness to what April Fool's Day was, but everybody was laughing so much that I made it mean I must be stupid because I did not understand it. So now I'm unworthy, uh, and I'm not enough, and now I'm stupid on top of that. So what happens is cause and effect. So as a byproduct of that, I promised myself I would never open my mouth again
Mm.
because I was not going to be intimidated like this again and made to feel stupid. And I went through probably all of my high school career, whether I knew the answer or not. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. So that becomes a default now,
Mm.
right? So with that default, I really got, I'm not stupid, right? Stupid will show up all the time. How am I going to respond to it is going to be the key to how I'm going to move through it or how I'm going to move past it.
Yeah.
I realize that I could do stupid things now and then, but I am far from being stupid.
Mm.
So it was really affirming myself over and over again and not listening to the external chatter and dialogue and really being true to myself.
Yeah. Wow. And there, when you were sharing your story, I was like, oh, that resonates with me so much because I was very shy growing up and people think I'm an extrovert. And I'm like, oh no, I'm an introvert. And on top of it, I was debilitatingly shy. You couldn't get, my dad would always say, I couldn't get you to talk. I was like prying, trying to pull teeth to get me to talk. So when you're sharing about feeling stupid or raising your hand or not knowing or not raising your hand, I was the same way. I'm like, don't call on me. I'm just here hiding. Let me just get through the day. And it was like that every single day. So thank you for sharing that story, your story, because I haven't heard anybody share that before. And I know for me, I've gone through similar, and I know that other people listening have also. So it's nice to feel or to know that you're not alone in the way things have maybe how we felt growing up. Can you talk to us about your company, how it got started, what inspired you to start it, and then how people can learn more? We'll get to that question. Let's just talk first about your company. I love the name of it, Tranquil Solutions.
Right.
So can you tell us more?
Yeah, absolutely. After my divorce, I started looking at all my strengths, and I always ask the question, what can I build with this? For every experience I always have, I look for the silver lining. So it's a choice, right? So I choose to stand in the light, as it were, in the positive. And I remember in 2007, my sister and my former sister-in-law said to me, "Karen, you'd make a great coach." And I'm like, "What is that? What is that? What does that look like?" And people were always coming to me anyway for advice. And I thought, what can I build with that? And Tranquil SOULutions was a download. I was getting into, I couldn't get enough quantum physics and neuroscience. I was just like a sieve, just taking it in, taking
Yeah.
it in, taking it in. And then I went into stress management and trauma clearing. And I started to, I declared, well, let me go back. In 2007, I declared I was going to be a catalyst for change when my horse got struck by lightning and survived. And I said he and I were going to be, living in Florida. It's like the lightning capital of the world. So my second horse got struck by lightning, and my spiritual mentor, I was studying spirituality at the time, and I had studied at the same time around my divorce world religions because I was so busy looking for something outside of my health,
Mm.
outside of myself to fix it. Not that anybody ever needs to be fixed, but I didn't realize that at the time. I remember saying, "No, I'm here to become a catalyst for change." And what that looks like is I am going to create a product. I don't know what it is. I'm going to create a product that's going to be affordable for every household, and it's going to take me out of the picture. And I was like, I don't know where that came from, but I remember definitely it was a download. Tranquil SOULutions was a download. My girlfriend, who lives in Hollywood, Florida, used to work in advertising in New York, and she said, Karen, you're never going to fly with that name. And I just in the moment felt like you're stripping me down naked and saying, I can't be
Mm.
Karen. Who are you to tell me that? And especially if it's coming through me. So 3 years later, she came back to me and she said, yeah, that is totally you. Because I believe in authenticity. So when you asked me that question earlier,
Yeah.
I I find the more vulnerable we as women can be, the quicker we're going to move through those challenges and empower ourselves. So Tranquil SOULutions was born in 2007. I've been rocking out and growing ever since. And I just am so enlivened by what I do because I believe that we all have the ability to find our joy, our inner peace, and to do it with ease. But we
Yeah.
don't know, we don't give ourselves enough compassion, right? And it's been my experience, that's been the thing. We're so busy making ourselves wrong or comparing to others or being self-righteous or whatever that looks like,
Right.
that we get stopped and stuck moving forward, where when we get all of that out of the way, that's extra luggage, actually.
Yeah.
If you look at everything as energy, energy in motion, you're stopping the energy flow by being in those spaces. So once I let go and surrender to my own baggage, for lack of better,
Yeah.
it was like, oh, I didn't know what was, and there's fear involved with that. There is. Courage takes getting the fear out of the way and just facing it.
Mm.
If you're in karate or whatever martial arts, they'll always tell you, face your fear, face your opponent, and you're going to get through it. As long as they obviously don't have a gun or a knife, you're going to get, but
Yeah.
you learn to trust yourself in the process.
Yeah. So can you talk to us about fear? What are some of the fears that you've gone through and how did you move through them?
Oh my gosh. I mean, one of the first fears when I started Tranquil SOULutions was imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know
Who
what
am
I'm
I
doing.
to do this? Why would
Right,
anybody
right,
listen to
exactly.
me? Yeah.
And I got involved with all the shiny objects, spent a bucket load of money on myself. I even hired Oprah's coach at one point. So help me God, I thought if it was good enough for Oprah, it'll be good enough for me. I didn't know where my
Right.
candy was coming from. It took me forever to pay her off. But the lesson, right? What did I learn from it? Was don't tell me what to do, show me. And that's what had me step into teaching people to fish now, because being told what you're doing out in California, is so much different than our mindset here in Florida, right? So it wasn't serving me at all. And then it sounded more like she was being my mother than anything else, but without the empathy and the caring. And I went, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
So that was a huge lesson for me. So I learned from everything, and the fear of failure. Oh my God, what if I've had 3 children? If I fail, what is that going to look like? So I really I really stepped into affirming myself when I had my major accident in Costa Rica 2 years ago. They told me my chances of walking were going to be slim to none. And I just remember saying, your diagnosis doesn't have to be my prognosis. Watch me. And I did the same thing after my divorce because the fear is what's going to stop us and hold us back rather than empower us to move forward.
Mm. That's so good. And we got to write that somewhere. So, and stick it on a wall and just look at it every day. Your diagnosis does not have to be my prognosis. When I started my business, I actually stalled for a long time. One, for fear of being seen. I was scared to hit that button, be on video, share my message, imposter syndrome. I had that rocking and rolling a
Yeah.
lot. And who are you? Why would anybody want to listen to you? I actually had thoughts of other people's opinion of me, not even knowing what their opinion of me was. But I'm like, they're going to think, who is she? Crazy? She was homeroom mom. She was co-chair of auction committee. She was at the school every day. She's a stay-at-home mom. Who is she to now coach others, especially
Exactly.
after getting divorced and all of this? And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I let that hold me back. When at the end of the day, I realized as I was growing up in the entrepreneurial space, people don't think about you as much as you think if at all. They got their own diagnoses that they're moving through, right? And their own stuff and baggage, as you mentioned, that they're moving through, that they're not thinking about you. But when you do show up in a powerful way, when you do show up vulnerable and you do show up and saying, hey, I may not have it all together, but this is my goal, this is my dream, I'm going for it. Guess what? Any opinions that you thought were negative that they had of you actually are very positive. They're like, wow, how are you doing that? How did you do? What made you decide to do that? What fears did you have? They're asking all the questions because they're really inspired by you. So I hope those of you listening to Karen and I today and hearing her share her journey, anything that's been holding you back, imposter syndrome, fear of failure, fear of success, because that could be scary too. Oh my gosh, what if I do well? Then I have to maintain that or do better every single year. Don't let that hold you back. Go for it. Find people that have similar thought processes of you. Find people that have goals that they're going after that may be scary, that are scary to them, that are outside of the box or outside of their comfort zone. Connect with Karen, reach out to her, learn more about what she has to offer you in community. And because there's other women who can support you in that journey. So Karen, that leads me to, how can people find you? How can people connect with you? And what do you have that they can either go grab to learn more, or ways of working with you? Can you share that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm all over the place because, like you said, when I had that imposter syndrome, it's like, face it. And what I
Yeah.
do is I just started showing up. So I'm all over, I'm splashed all over social media. Rudolph is spelled with an F, not a PH. Most people will misconstrue that one. Tranquil SOULutions is SOULUTIONS.com. And when you go to my website, I have a connect with me button on there. I also have a free gift for your listening audience. And I also have the Tranquil Solutions Clarity Tool, which I told you I was going to create back in 2007.
Yeah.
It's been 15 years in the works. I've taken the program globally. I know it works, and we've made it to a point now where it's digital. You can get it on any of your smart devices, and it's like having Karen in your back pocket without having me there. I'm still available. I still do groups. I still do group coaching. I still do individual coaching. I will never go away. I don't know how to shut off, honestly, but I love what I do.
Yeah.
So if you go there, you'll get all that information and more information about that as well. So,
And that's another, and we're going to have all of Karen's information and links and all the good stuff inside of the show notes here. But Tranquil Solutions with the SOULutions.com. So that's super simple to find. And you can go find Karen all over social media. It's Karen Rudolf with RUDOLF. And we'll also have her, all the links for her in there as well. But you just shared something, and what was it? I think I just lost it. It was, you were splashed all over, but you'll never stop. You don't know how to stop because you love what you do. And that just, like, boom, was awesome to hear, because that's what I want our listeners to know too. If you have a calling on your heart, if you're in a job or in something that you're not happy with, then I'm not saying quit, right? We all get to do things responsibly. But what I'm saying is, find something that lights you up. It could be a hobby that brings you joy. It could be connecting with your family in different new ways that brings you joy. It could be looking for and getting your feet wet and putting your feelers out for a new job, or even starting a side business or something that lights you up. Maybe it's getting crafty and selling something, starting an Etsy store. I don't know what that looks like for y'all, but make sure that you're doing things in your life that bring you joy and happiness, because we get one go around on this planet that we know of, right? In this body, in this way we're made. So make sure that you're bringing joy and you're doing things that light you up. Karen's found hers, and I want the same for you. So Karen, I know I had another question, and it was around, you had mentioned something. Let's talk about this real quick. And then I have two more questions and we'll wrap. But comparisonitis. right? When you're starting out, I know for me, when I started out, I was in a group, I was in a coaching program, and I joined a coaching program I had no business being in, and I shouldn't have been in it. But it got me, it's a piece of my stepping stone journey that got me to where I am today. And without it, I don't know, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. And I love what I'm doing now. So that's another thing. We don't always find it. You mentioned something around, oh, your gift. It's been 15 years in the making. And I love that you shared that, because I think some of us have a timeline on things. Oh, I got to get that done yesterday. There's no timeline on anything. I think we put these false timelines on ourselves, and we feel like, oh, this person's here, I should be there too, when they started 5 years ago and we started 5 days ago, right? So comparisonitis is a huge thing. And I always say, don't compare your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20, but it's not always easy when we see them lighting it up. And I used to see people, and it's interesting how far I've evolved in the last, I would say, 8 years. And I think it's important that we always look back in order to see how far we've come, as we're also looking forward in what we want to create. That we learn a lot of lessons from our past that we can learn, but it's exciting to look back and go, oh my gosh, look how far I've come. And I want people to do that. I don't think people do that enough. We don't celebrate ourselves enough. We go, oh, I could be further. Well, that's great. Yay, me. But look where they are, and they started 4 years ago and I started 8 years ago. Well, we're all on a different path and a different journey. What's going on in their life is not going on in our life. And can you talk into, did you have any comparisonitis when you first started? How did you move through that if you did? What are some things, and it doesn't, I don't think it ever goes away. I think it still shows up. For me, not so much, because I've literally pivoted. I'm not on Facebook and Instagram as much anymore, but I'm more on LinkedIn. So that comparisonitis is kind of left, because I used to be like, I want to speak on huge stages. I want to be that influencer on social media. And now I'm like, I don't. That what I wanted to be a few years ago is not the person. I want to be in a little cottage on the water, enjoying my life and working, setting my boundaries and having time with my family. And so my goals have shifted a lot in what lights me up compared to what it did. Can you share anything on that as far as a piece of
Yeah.
that for your journey?
Absolutely, because when I was starting again, I was in the imposter syndrome. So what my coaches were telling me, and I had more than one coach at the time because I was looking for the perfect
Yeah.
answers, and thinking there was a perfect answer out there. But the reality is I was getting caught up in, wow, we started together on this journey and she's already making whatever, or she's doing this or doing that. And what's wrong with me? Because that's part of that stupid conversation. So when I started getting to know myself better, when it would show up, I would be like, thanks for sharing. But that's not the truth. It doesn't have to be the truth. And I stopped signing up because I had the syndrome, the
Object
shiny,
syndrome? Yeah.
yeah,
Shiny
that's
object
right.
syndrome? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I had the
Had
shiny
that.
object syndrome, and I was always comparing myself to where my peers were at the time. I'm a late bloomer. I mean, most people my age, in all fairness, are retiring now, and I have no intention of retiring because I love what I do. But when I stepped back and really looked at my what lit me up. And as you said, I always talk about joy, and looking at it as energy is, where do you want to focus your energy, and more importantly, on whom? And if you're not taking care of yourself, you have so much battery life. If you look at your smart, I always, when I speak on stages and such, I usually have my phone close by and I'm like, this has so much battery power. If you come along and say, Karen, can I borrow your phone? And somebody else says, oh, mine isn't working either. I don't know what's going on. And then I need it in case of emergency or my kids call and I don't have any power left. Where it's your battery life. Where are you doing that? So when I surrendered to what was and said, I'm going to stop looking at everybody else because we're all unique. We all have unique experiences. We all have unique perceptions. When you change the way you look at things, the way you look at things change. So I started taking that. And actually, that's the quote that took me globally. And it's all about, and that's what the Tranquil SOULutions Clarity Tool is all about, is shifting perceptions by getting to know yourself and asking yourself those intuitive questions. So it doesn't happen to me much at all anymore because we compare ourselves to what we don't know, right? And not give ourselves credit or celebrate, as you said, what we do know and how far we've come. And I don't claim to know it all. I'm not a rocket scientist. I'm not an engineer. I do what I do. I do it very well, but I don't have to be. an end all be all to everybody,
Right.
because that's what makes the world is people are going to resonate with me. They might resonate with somebody better. I'm not affected by that any longer. Whereas before I would personalize it. It's not personal.
Yeah.
I'm not even thinking like that. So let it go. Let it
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Yeah. Stop taking everything so personally. That was a big lesson I got to learn too. I'm like, nope, I get to release that. It has nothing to do with me. And if it does, I don't get to worry about it. Unless I need to worry about it. Let it go, release it. So, Karen, two last questions for you, and then we'll wrap up. But thank you. This has been such a great conversation. I've really enjoyed this. We dove into a lot of things, and we went deep on a lot of things. And I know that the listeners are appreciative, and I'm extremely appreciative. So, thank you. First question is there a fun fact about you, Karen, a little behind the scenes, like that would possibly surprise us that we wouldn't know about you from by going and checking out your website at tranquilsolutions.com or checking you out on social media and following you there? Is there any just surprising fun fact about you, Miss Karen?
I don't know if it's going to be so surprising, but for me, nature.
Mm,
It's finding ways and means to ground yourself. Some people will sit there and meditate. I meditate. I love to kayak. I live here in Florida. I'm by the water.
yeah.
So I go kayaking very often and I commune with nature. I feel one with nature. I love plants. I used to believe that I can bring dying plants back. And my dad said, no, get a career, do something that you can always fall back on. You're not going to make money with dying plants. Well, I have plants all over my house now. So is that a fun fact? It's hard on the pocketbook because they grow so fast here in Florida.
Well, thank you for that. Last question for you is if you could have lunch with anyone, and whether they're alive or deceased, who would it be and why?
Probably the first person that comes to mind is Wayne Dyer. He's on my
Mm,
board, right?
yeah.
There was just something I always resonated with the man, the way he spoke, the way he carried himself, the confidence he spoke with. And more importantly, he talked about energy in such a way by starting with intention. And once I got that, and I always start my day with intention.
Mm,
It just shifted. And years ago, it was actually him that I heard say, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
yeah.
My brain heard it: when you change the way you look at things, the way you look at things change. Slightly different nuance, but that's what was the catalyst to drive me and Tranquil Solutions to go globally. And I made a difference in South Africa in the school systems, not even knowing that that was going to happen. You never know who's watching. You never know how you're going to show up, but trust the process.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. This is so much gold today. So thank you for sharing. Karen, is there anything that you'd like to share with us that I didn't get to ask you or we didn't touch on before we wrap up and say goodbye to our listeners?
Well, we touched on it before, but it always begins: be true to you. Be
Mm,
authentic. Learn to be authentically you, because you'll not only attract people to you, you'll attract your wealth, your health, and a career that possibly brings you joy, or just a place on the beach that,
yeah.
whatever that is. So the more authentic you can be with yourself, the more people, and law of attraction, is going to be attracted to
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, thank you for that so much. And Karen, you just touched on it, and I want to share this with all of you. Be unapologetic, be authentic, and also share what you want to create. Be intentional. And I know in being intentional, we hear that a lot. And for me, that was a challenge. What does that even mean? To be intentional. So if you don't know, set your intentions for the day. It doesn't have to be anything challenging or difficult. You can start super small, make it easy. Maybe it's just to smile. I want to make someone smile today, or I want to smile more today, or I just want to take 5 minutes for me. Whatever that intention is, make that intention. And I could be doing it wrong, but there's no right or wrong when it comes to it. Just have some fun with it and also share with people. But make sure you're sharing with people what you want to create and what you want to do especially at the beginning, with people that you trust that will be able to lift you up and get excited with you, right? Karen, you mentioned a friend of yours is like, that's not going to work, basically. And you're like, okay, that's not what I really wanted to hear right now. But she came around. She came around, and I'm sure she did it because she loved you and wants to see you thrive and successful, but they don't always respond in the way that we want them to. And we don't want our wind taken out of our sails when we get excited about something. So that's where we go back to reaching out to Karen, finding community, finding women who are on that similar path of you that want to go after bigger things that might be bigger for them. Doesn't mean doesn't have to be like
Right.
you're out feeding different change. I don't know. I can't even think of something right now, but it doesn't have to be like you're making massive changes all at once. So they come in baby steps. But what I want to share is, and what I'm getting to in a roundabout way, is that share with people what you want. I was holding back for a long time, and you reminded me to do this. I want to live on the water. It's always been a dream. I do live on the water, but it's not the water I want to live on. I want to live on the intercoastal or a huge lake somewhere where I can take the boat out, and that's where I want to be. I want to wake up every morning, and I'm sharing this with y'all because I'm putting it out there, and I want to keep putting it out there. And it does get scary because people are like, that's kind of crazy. I want to wake up every morning with my person and walk down to the dock and put our feet up with whether it's with a dog or not a dog, but I want to wake up every morning, do that with my coffee. And then at sunset, I want to do that every day with my glass of wine and with my person. And that's how we wrap up the day, and overlooking the water. It's been my dream for a long time. And that takes money. It does in Florida, right? Right, Karen? It takes money in Florida. So, but that's my intention. That's my goal. And I'm putting it out there because I get to have that. And when I do, I'm going to let y'all know. So be unapologetic about what you want. Be intentional. Go connect with Karen. Go to tranquilsoulustions.com. If you're listening to us or watching us on YouTube, thank you. Hit that subscribe button. And I invite you to share your big goal and dream below in the comments. Let Karen and I cheer you on, because we're going to be your biggest cheerleaders and advocates. And you never know who's out there that sees it, that can say, you know what, I have somebody that can help you make that happen. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast platform, please, if you can, give us a review, preferably 5 stars. This helps us help other women. Share these episodes with more women, get the podcast out to more women, share our incredible guests like Karen out to more women who they're here sharing their journeys, their stories, being vulnerable, being open. And we want to get their messages out to more people so we can empower more women to go after what they want and be seen and heard. Thank you, Karen, so much. At my overtime, we went long, but we're so good. So thank you for your time today. I'm such in gratitude for you. And thank you all for listening to Karen and I today. Make sure you go connect with her, and we will see you on the next episode of the Be S.H.E podcast. In the meantime, be empowered to be seen and heard.